I was a speaker before I was asked to do the chair stuff, by the way. This is not me doing a power grab for the stage, trying to hog it. So we've heard some really great stuff from the brands this morning. I'm not from a known brand like we've heard before. I'm from a technology provider called Haiilo. I am corporate branded today, which is wonderful. You know who I am, hopefully, because I've been up here a while. What I do is I'm VP of Solutions Consulting. So I have the privilege of speaking to all our partners, our customers, and our prospects around what they are trying to do in the world of internal communications, which includes a whole bunch of things like the intranet and multi-channel communications and things like that. I get to speak to them about the good. I get to speak more about the bad and the problems and the challenges that we're trying to overcome. And so what I'm going to try and do today is just spend the next 20 minutes or so going through some of these topics because they are important. Things are not as rosy as some of the stuff that we saw earlier, which were wonderful examples of this. And there are a couple of topics that I'm really passionate about. One of them is this concept of the hidden cost of inaction, and we'll explain a bit more in that in a second. And then also, I get to I've talked to thousands of brands and companies, and there is so much consistency in some really big myths and misconceptions in the industry that we work in internal communications, in a modern intranet and everything that encompasses. So I want to address those too. So we're going to talk about transforming the employee experience, which is the broader topic this falls under, talk about the cost of inaction, breaking down some of those myths and how we can start that journey. So I'm going to start about transforming the employee experience. I think if you had, in the UK, we call it corporate bingo cards, where we come on stage and we say these buzzwords, and I think employee experience at the moment is up there. It is a corporate bingo buzzword. You hear it everywhere. Same as AI. AI wins. AI this, AI that. Not that it's not good, but my God, if you won money by filling the card out, you'd be rich. Employee experience is another one, but I'm now going to switch to an AI definition to say that I'm down with it. That I think this is probably ChatGPT. I could have probably done this myself, and I feel really bad when you use ChatGPT and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I could have done that, and now I feel like I've cheated. But then I realized it saved me 5 minutes, so that was okay. So what is employee experience? Okay, I'm going to read it out. Employee experience refers to the sum of all interaction an employee has with their employee, encompassing every touch point from the initial recruitment to the end of the agreement to the relationship. A positive employee experience is characterized by factors such as meaningful work, supportive leadership, opportunities for growth, this is another bingo card, and development, work-life balance, fair compensation, and a healthy work environment. And this is big now. I know I only look about 20 years old, but I've been in the workforce for 20 years now. And when I started, no one gave a damn about this. When I started my SaaS career, no one talked about the employee experience. I remember my first intranet that I came across in 2007, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I still have nightmares. It was that bad, but no one cared. But now, people are investing big money in this. If you ask everyone in a corporate stance, what's your most important asset in their business? What do they say now? People. Bingo. And they'd be almost right. Except if you make cool products, then the products are the best thing. But people, they know that. Organizations know this, and they are investing serious money in the employee experience. And multi-channel communications, a strategically good communication strategy, and employees being able to find information and purpose is part of that. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal if you get it wrong as well. These are some stats. People feel hyper disconnected right now. I used to say super disconnected. I think people feel hyper disconnected. The world we work in now, this hybrid, remote, going back to office, whatever you want to call it now, there's lots of definitions of it. It is confusing. It has created disconnectivity in the workforce. These numbers come from a trend analysis. We've done a more recent one. The numbers are basically the same, so I couldn't be bothered to update it. So 34% of leaders say that the disconnection is a big deal. Employees are saying it's a big deal. They are burnt out. They say that their job demands have gone up, but they're burnt out. And because of that, they're less likely to stay. The digital workforce, we're seeing lots of great examples of digital transformation now, but actually a lot of organizations, it is complex and it is messy, and it is causing a non-streamlined workflow. 1 hour a day in this one spent to search or recreate information which already existed and could have been found. I've got some sums later, and I won't name names of who it is, but it's quite informative. And right now, if you speak to CEOs, talent acquisition and retention is a real barrier to growth. It's not the innovation in their products, it's not the innovation in their services, it's the ability to grow the right type of people in the organization that work for them in the right way. So those are the negatives of getting it wrong. What about the positives? Okay, if you get the employee experience well, if you communicate to people better, if you give them the information that they need, engaged employees are 12 times less likely to leave their companies. If anyone in here has actually ever done the proper mathematics behind how much it costs you to lose an employee, it is staggering. Maybe some people in HR care about that. Maybe the CFO cares about that. Most people don't realize that stat is a phenomenal impact. 94% of employees say they would stay longer in a company if they invested in them, in their experience, in how they are working day in, day out. This is an interesting one, particularly interesting one. 86% of top performing companies agree that communication platforms boosted engagement and performance. That's pretty much common sense, but it gets overlooked. And organizations with highly engaged employees are more profitable or more successful, depending on what your business does. And it's gone beyond internal, right? It's not just about internal communications and information in your own organization now. We're in a hyper-connected world. You need to blend more than you've ever done before the bridge between internal and external communications and information sharing. And if you get it right, you can generate incredible benefits. You can get huge increase in reach on social media. That might be important for talent acquisition, brand improvement, a whole bunch of social selling if you're in that side of it. You can get more engaged users in your intranet by expanding it to beyond the internal walls of your organization. And it helps with that employee turnover through that engagement. So it's hugely important, but it's complex. The requirements of the communications landscape have evolved, and they've evolved pretty quickly. I look back now at the last few companies I've been at, and I actually think this is hockey sticked in terms of what the requirements are. You have a whole bunch of internal communication requirements now. You need to try and reach everyone where they are and all the channels they care about. You need to be able to give them a mechanism to talk back to you, to have that voice of the employee. You need to engage with them. You need to make them happy. You need to make them become brand ambassadors for your organization, because that drives that employee advocacy and that external communication. And these all lead to good things like brand and media value, productivity, innovation, diversity, growth, happiness, all these wonderful things. So it's complex, but there's reasons to do it. So I hope a lot of people, I don't need everyone to agree, I just need some, we'll go with some. I hope some agree that, yeah, actually focusing on the employee experience is something we should do. It's something we should focus on more. But I want to talk now about the fact that it doesn't happen a lot, and the hidden cost of inaction. We are a software company, so we evaluate, when we try and sell, we evaluate against the competition. Who do we lose to? Who do we win against? Who are we selling against? The number one competitor is do nothing. It's a category, do nothing, not making a change. And I don't think people focus on it. I think organizations, when they are looking to adopt new processes, new technology, and new people, they start with the big benefits. What's the ROI? What's the uptick in revenue I'm going to get? What's the increased XYZ? What about stopping the blood flow now? Inaction, another definition. I didn't write this one either. More ChatGPT. I should try it and ask Bosch, see what it comes out with. Inaction refers to the state or condition of not taking any action. Another common sense point. It can refer to a conscious decision to refrain from doing something, or simply a lack of response or initiative in a given situation. And I would say here, there's a bit you'd add on, fear and risk are a big part of inaction. Now, the funny thing here with Einstein behind me is every quarter in my organization, we look at business and we look to improve. I don't know what your performance cycles are in your organization. Some of you may have yearly reviews or monthly reviews or weekly reviews. But in all honesty, how many times do you sit there and say, we're going to get better, and yet there is no single thing you are actually changing? So how are you going to get better? And this goes to the employee experience, the cost of inaction. If you are focused on improving your employee experience, if you are focused on making better communications to your existing employees and making it easier for them to find information, and you are not doing something different than you did yesterday, why are you expecting anything to change? And that is going on day out. It baffles me every day that I speak to organizations that they expect change without changing anything. Okay, but what are the problems with inaction? I'm going to look at it from two perspectives. In terms of internal communications, multi-channel communications, and the intranet. Right, cost of inaction from an employee's perspective. Lack of clear purpose and focus. This is a simple one. Go to your organization and ask a random bunch of people if they have clear purpose and focus. And if anyone come to you and say they all had it, you're lying. That's flat out. It's amazing. And you have to go deep there. My purpose is I need to write this spreadsheet. Yeah, why? What purpose does it serve? That's a big one. Lack of productivity and effectiveness. And actually, I've got a calculation here, because this is a shocker. I'm not going to name who it is, someone we work with, because they're embarrassed about this. Right, who here has a weekly stand-up in their organization, or a town hall, or a wash-up, whatever you call it? Who has a weekly meeting with the organization? Put your hands up, it's all of you. Or maybe a monthly, or whatever. Okay. So this organization, unnamed, had a weekly town hall where they asked every employee in the organization to come on the town hall to communicate and to interact with and to engage with. Now, before they rounded it off, they did some questions about the purpose of this, and they worked out, here are the sums. This was 30 minutes per week of people's time. That's 26 hours per year. That's 26 times 170 people in the organization. That's 4,420 hours per year on this call. That's 4,420 divided by 8 for the number of hours a day, 552 days. Now, working on a 22 days a month working, that is 552 divided by 22. That's 25 months. That's 2 years of time. And they asked the entire organization, do you get any benefit? Do you know what they got? 169, no, this is a waste of time, and one person didn't answer. That is productivity. We have worked with this organization to think about, there's needs to communicate, there's needs to talk to the whole company, there's needs to engage with them, but looking at it, not making a change. They've done this town hall for 2 years, so they worked out that this has cost them 2 years of time. So if you do the productivity sums, you realize this is a big deal if we don't change what we're doing now. Are we efficient? Are we actually creating productivity and effectiveness? Lack of loyalty and commitment to the organization. If you've got an attrition problem with employees at the moment, you're going to understand that it's painful. Lack of problem solving and innovation. If you work in an industry where problem solving and innovation is a big deal, that is a big problem. And disengaged employees that are not listened to or communicated with or have purpose do not solve problems for you. They do not innovate. So those are big problems. Let's look at it from the employee's perspective. If you are doing nothing, your competition probably are doing something. You are already at a competitive disadvantage, whether that comes through the lack of innovation for your employees, whether that's because all the good people in your organization are leaving and going to your competitors, whether that's just you being inefficient and taking longer to come out. There's a really good story that one of our investors told about, it's to do with NVIDIA at the moment. I won't go into it, but that is all about that communication and working faster and creating a competitive advantage over everyone else through better communication. Reputation and brand damage. Brand reputation takes years to form, years and years and years to form. It takes milliseconds to destroy through a disgruntled employee. It really does. Or just general noise. And bad reputation spreads like wildfire. It really does. That can be really, it hurt the organization. Not doing anything, you're going to lose people. And overall, at a higher level, your productivity multiplied across the organization is going to be big. So, as you're sitting here thinking about improving your organizations in lots of ways through employee engagement, better communications, the one thing you shouldn't do is do nothing. Because right now, you are losing money somewhere. You are being inefficient somewhere, and you are losing ground to your competition and the market by just doing what you've done now and expecting things to get better. Okay, so we see some myths. Why don't people do more of this? Well, we see some myths and challenges in the market today. First and foremost, we see this myth a lot, that a multi-channel communications and intranets are separate strategies. We see that a lot. Some of you may, hopefully some of you go, no way, they're the same thing. You're right. They're not the same thing, but they are so intrinsically linked that you should not be revamping your intranet, building a new intranet, changing your intranet, if you're GSK, killing your internet, without thinking about the communications strategies around that need to go along with it. An intranet without a strategic decision on multi-channel comms is absolutely pointless. It will not get the adoption you expect. There's reasons behind that. If you look at the pros and cons of a high level of an intranet, right, there's all the cons about cost and implementation effort, technical challenges, adoption, training, privacy, all that nonsense. We're in Germany, so you care about privacy more than I do in the UK. US, they don't care at all. It's really easy. You can buy anyone's email off the internet. The centralized information, improved internal comms, facilitates true collaboration, time and cost saving, employee retention and participation. We've seen all the pros. Everyone today that's presented about their internet, they've had those pros in there. So it's really common. I'm glad that's validated by you guys doing it. Now, what about the pros and cons of multi-channel comms? Well, they're the same comms, right? It's all about complexity and resource and governance and risk and privacy and all those wonderful topics. But think about the pros: extended reach within the organization, flexibility and adaptability, improved interaction and engagement, better traceability and analytics, that's an important one, and employee focus. Now, forget both those things. What do employees want? I'll tell you what they want now. They want mobile communication or diverse end-point communication, maybe mobile, maybe tablets, maybe digital signage, which we saw earlier. They want diversity of content. I should say I'm an employee. I want interactive, engaging platforms. I want gamification. I want help. I want AI and chatbots. And we've seen great examples. I want that. I want those. I want the Bosch one. I want integration with social media. If you want me to talk, I will talk about all the wonderful things Haiilo does. But I'm not lifting a finger to do it. You've got to make it easy for me. I need connection to my social channels to be that brand ambassador. And I need it to be a real diverse set of channels. Right, so let's pivot around. Those are the employee needs. And you'll notice the pluses, right? Intranet comms together is how you actually meet employee needs in these challenges. Okay, so they're not one thing. We saw about this earlier. I've got a personal peeve on this. Quarterly, half-yearly, and yearly, and someone said every 2 years, employee surveys have got you covered, understanding how your employees are feeling. No, they don't. No, they don't. If you ask me today how I feel about my youngest son's behavior at the weekend, and you ask me 2 years from now, you're going to get a reflection of 10 minutes before when he wound me up or he was nice to me. Is that a real representation? Is that helpful? What can I do with that? I might make a 2-year decision based on a 10-minute feeling. It's terrible. And so let me be clear. I'm not saying you do not do these types of surveys, pulse surveys, employee engagement surveys, whatever you want to call them. I'm saying they are part of a bigger conversation all around employee listening. One of the things that this does, be human for a minute. Don't be employees doing pulse surveys. If you create this mass misalignment in expectation, right? If I'm a consumer, if I'm at a restaurant, if I'm having a terrible meal, do you know what I do? I call the manager over and I make my voice heard. I will say, the steak wasn't cooked right, the vegetables was something wrong. It took ages to get the drinks. It was really difficult. When I do that, I expect two things, right? I expect to be heard and acknowledge that I am heard. And two, being honest, I expect resolution in a timely fashion. Take money off my bill, give me the starters for free, whatever, right? That's what I'm doing. That's no different to when you ask employees for pulse feedback. We are all humans. If I give feedback in a pulse survey, and by the way, I do not do pulse surveys anymore. I refuse to, because I do not get acknowledgement personally that you receive my feedback. And you know what? If I don't see what I told you to do happen within a week, I'm like, well, why did you ask me? Why did you ask me? Now, it's unrealistic. Organizations can't listen to everyone and do everything they ask of them. You can't do that. And if you do it in a big pulse survey, you're going to create this massive chasm in expectations of employees that want to give you feedback and what the organization does. So you need to bring employee listening into that. You need to introduce other ways of engaging with your employees on a more frequent basis. Now, one of my colleagues came out with this. This is going to change the market, how they think about this. 10-10. 10 seconds of an employee's time per week to understand what you need to know from them. How are they feeling? What are they understanding? Did they understand the message? Did they get it? Did they believe in it? Did they understand the mission? Did they understand their purpose? Did they understand their strategy? Did they like the changes, etc.? It doesn't matter what it is. It needs to be then 10 minutes of an employee's time to analyze that and do something with that information. And that needs to be happening all the time. We practice this. We practice this a lot. Very effective. Doesn't mean you're good at, once again, it doesn't mean you are hearing everyone and absolutely making every single change that someone experiences. But if you create this mantra of employee listening being an always-on capability, not a half-year, once-a-year opportunity, you're going to get huge amount of benefit. Firstly, you're going to get much better quality in the answers that you get back. Trust me, we've seen it. Secondly, you're going to create a dynamic communication landscape. People are going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to feed this back. They're validating the purposes that you're setting to your communications and your intranet, and they make it measurable. And you're going to see corrective changes much quicker. Okay, so it's a myth that you should just rely on that. I'm not saying don't stop your pulse surveys. You just can't rely on them. It needs more. Okay, another myth, putting all the information in one centralized repository will solve my problem. This is the original kind of mantra for most intranets. Put it all in one place, bring it all together. I go and look at people's SharePoints after using it for X number of years. There should be documentaries about these things. They are a fascinating, that repository. But the idea was sound, right? We want to put it in there. I liken it to Fort Knox. It was an American audience as well. I couldn't find the German equivalent of Fort Knox that was sensible. So someone come and tell me what I should do for next time. But anyway, Fort Knox, you put stuff in there. You know where it is, right? You know where it is. But access, it's secure. But access, it's stagnant. Money, if you put money in Fort Knox, it's not growing. It's not investing. It's not diversifying in how it's making you returns. And you know what? If I go to the coffee shop and I'm desperate for a coffee, I can't get that out. I have to wait 6 weeks, maybe a year to get money out of that place. And by then, my needs for that information or that coffee at that moment has gone. You can't have that. Centralizing your content is right. But the biggest factor to success is accessibility to that in a timely fashion. So you need to think about, this is just an example, right? Everyone loves an IT landscape. You need to think about the flow. You need to think about, if I'm going to bring all my information together to centralize it, I need to focus on spreading it out. I need to make sure it can get to the various endpoints. People now work in complex technological environments using, on average, I can't remember what the number is. It's a high number of different techs used every day to do different things. information and data flow between them that is going to be important for the business. Not the actual technology you choose. We're all wonderful tech now. We're all open. We've all got APIs. But you need to make sure that you can make those things talk to each other in a timely fashion. So putting all your information, making your intranet this massive walled garden, it's got some benefits, but you need to think about how important it is to get that out in a timely fashion to the endpoints that your employees care about. Okay, and talking of endpoints your employees care about, I'm conscious of time, let's speed up. If you think everyone in this audience who's manager or has a team or has control, there's some IT people in here, so this will be an interesting one. If you think you are in control of which channels are most effective for your employees, you are wrong. I'm sorry, you are wrong. Employees are in control of what channels they think are most important. And you need to meet them where they are, right? Let's talk about these guys. The social media graveyard. Who's old enough to have used all of these? Yeah, it's tragic. I think my MySpace is probably still there somewhere. Anyway, did they do that much differently to the Facebooks of this world, to the others? Do you know what? They didn't. They didn't actually. What they didn't do is they didn't let the users dictate what was important for them. Right? Facebook, you may think he's had a lot of control. There's a lot of examples of how the user base governed how it went, how it determined. And think about that for your communications channels. You are no longer in control. You might be in control of what channels they have access to a point. You are not in control of what they deem important. And you have to think about that now. You as communicators in the organization have to think about the channels that are important to them and how to engage with the cohorts, the teams, the people in the channels that they care about. Our developers at Haiilo, they look at Slack once a day, 3 in the morning. It's the only way you'll get hold of them. Otherwise, they're not interested. I don't think they've seen an email in 10 years. We can't change that, but we can utilize it, and we can think about the communication channels that we work with and how to hit them in the right place. So you're not in control anymore, but that doesn't mean you can't use it effectively. Okay, misconception. We've seen some bits on analytics today, which is always good. It's always good to think about that. Misconception that you've been analyzing the full picture when it comes to your intranet and your multi-channel comms. I'm really sorry, but you haven't. Again, these are misconceptions. When we look at intranet, when we look at multi-channel comms, we tend to focus on what we call vanity metrics. Opens, reads, if that's a thing, clicks, likes, comments. Clicked doesn't mean read, and the most important one, read doesn't mean understood. All right? One of my colleagues, I wish I'd come out with that. Even ChatGPT couldn't do that. That was a human. You will only know what is being really successful if you look at 3 things. What are people doing? What are people saying? And how are people feeling? And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to have to do a whole bunch of measurement. You're going to have to ask people, because it's pretty tricky to guess how they're feeling unless you're really good at watching body language. And you're going to need tools to understand what they're saying, right? And if you do not have all these 3 things together at a high level, you might be doing some good analysis, but you haven't got the full picture. And I tell you now, most of these things, they do not end in your intranet platform or your communication tool. They end somewhere else. The success, the goal, the outcome, the purpose ends somewhere else. In another tool, in another system, in an action that isn't even digital, that you physically have to look at. So you really have to think about that. Now, it's not a bad thing. I come from an analytics world and a data world, sold a lot of BI tools in my time and digital analytics tools. I think this is really interesting. I think this is the next revolution of how do you actually measure intranet success and global comms and internal communications. We aren't far away though, and we've seen some really cool examples, by the way, of where this data is going to come together, and you're going to use AI and machine learning and efficiencies in the technology that exists to crunch all this together and to somehow join up what used to be very, very difficult to join up, data to join up. That has revolutionized, right? You can now join up unstructured, structured stuff in really clever ways, qualitative and quantitative together that I've never seen before. And we are not far away now from a proactive world where you are being told where gaps are in your organization and how to address them through the right communications, through the right information share, through the right channels to the right audience. We're not there yet. Overall, there's some people that are getting further than others, but it's coming. Until then, right now, reevaluate how you're measuring. And if you're only looking at the vanity metrics and you're not combining it with what you're asking and what they're doing and what they're saying and how they're feeling, you're missing something out. Okay, final one, because I'm getting the 1 minute. All right, let's speed it up. You can't show tangible value in comms. We hear this all the time, and I know there are some comms people in the room that have probably struggled with this over the years, like when you're asking for more budget or you're asking to renew a bit of technology. Oh, well, we can't see how, we can't see the value in it, or it's not tangible. It's very difficult. It is difficult right now. There's a bit of a revolution going on in the intranet and the comms space about defining ROI, or value is more important than ROI sometimes. And two things that matter: purpose, focus on purpose. And I don't mean purpose of the message itself. What's the message actually asking someone to do? If the purpose is to keep someone alive, because if they go into that plant not wearing a helmet, they'll die because something will fall on their head, there's a good purpose. Purpose of them, if the purpose is to read the note, that's not a purpose. That's a means to an end. So you really have to redefine the purpose. You then also have to define success indicators, both leading and eventual. So ones that you can look at and say it's going well and we need to course correct, versus ones that say it succeeded. Rethink that. Rethink that. It's tough. That is not easy, but I think we need to think about it. I'm getting so ushered. I'm there. I'm there. Okay, start changing direction, right? Think about cost of inaction. These are the 4 things. I don't care about the rest. These are 4 things I want you to remember. Think about cost of inaction. Bring together siloed initiatives because they are so intrinsically linked. Redefine purpose and measurable outcomes of everything you're doing in this intranet space and multi-channel comms. And you've got to put the employee at the heart of decisions and use their signals for the gain. Okay, we're very passionate about all this. There's not time for questions because we've got to move on. But I'm here. I don't want everyone to agree with me. I don't want everyone to completely disagree with me, but I want you to have an opinion, and I'd love to hear it. So if you believe in those myths, if you agree with all of them, if you disagree, we'll talk afterwards. But otherwise, thank you very much.